Today we are going to be repairing our failed connecting rod bearing on the UglyTruck, our turbocharged 8.1 liter sleeper Silverado. But I just want to come right out of the gate and let you know that I'm not saying this is going to be the correct way to do this repair, because it totally isn't. I'm also not going to tell you that this is going to be a long-lasting repair, because it probably isn't going to last all that long. And I'm also not going to say that you should try this at home, because you definitely should not. This is totally out of character for me. This is not the right way to repair this at all. But here's the deal. I'm not ready right now to pull this engine out of the truck. I'm not ready to tie up my base space right now. I'm not ready to invest in a full rebuild. So this is just like a temporary sort of DIY repair that'll get this truck on the road enough where I can drive it to the house and park it until I decide what I actually want to do with it. And on the offhand chance that we actually decide to go to the track with this thing and push it even further, well, I'm taking matters into my own hand at that point. But like I said, full disclaimer, this is totally not what I normally do. But here's the deal. We have these old rod bearings that have basically shredded themselves to death after a fairly thorough inspection. Everything inside the engine seems to be in good condition. The rods don't appear to be bent, the pistons don't appear to be cracked, and the crankshaft, believe it or not, even with all the damage that has been done to the bearing, the crank journal actually looks pretty decent. So I just have a couple of new rod bearings, same exact thing that we had in here before. These were, I thought they were King XPs, but these are a Molle, I forget what their performance bearing is, M series. Anyway, that's the bearing that we had in there before. That's what we're going to put back in, because I've already checked the clearances 2 summers ago when I had this engine apart, and I gapped the rings and checked the bearings and all that good stuff. So theoretically everything should pass, and we're going to do the thing that I normally would never do, but let's do it. See how it turns out. All right, so the lower rod bearing for 6, that was right behind 5. I mean, by comparison, it looks amazing. It's definitely seen some wear, but compared to the other ones, much better. And it's even on the same journal. So when I first saw the rod bearings that were totally damaged, I totally sarcastically and jokingly said to Chris, well, why don't we just throw another rod bearing in it and be done with it? But then I started thinking, like, what's the worst that would happen? I mean, honestly, we've already got debris that's been sent through the engine. And when I drained the oil out at first, it actually was fairly clean, meaning the filter was removing pretty much most of the big chunky contaminants before it got pumped through the rest of the system. And so as I dove into it a little bit further and looked at the crankshaft, the more I realized there's really not a lot of damage done there. It's still very smooth. I've seen spun bearings where the journal on the crankshaft just gets totally gouged up and is unusable, where after 10 to 15 minutes with some emery cloth, that actually would pass. So like I said, totally not the right way to do this, but I think it actually may last a little bit longer than you would initially think. So yeah, we got our new bearings here. Again, same exact bearings, same exact size as we had before. These are the same exact bearings that we measured clearance on everything 2 summers ago when we put it back together, except instead of that, it looks a little bit neater. So let's continue on with our ill-conceived quest for making horsepower on stupid decisions. And just because this is the wrong way to do it doesn't mean we're going to shortcut the wrong way. We're going to do the wrong thing the right way. If there was such a thing, that's what we're doing. All right, good luck, little bearing. You're gonna need it. This works. This will be the cheapest engine rebuild I've ever done. And just because at this point we're committed to doing the wrong thing the right way, I'm just going through all of the remaining rod caps. I'm just going to pull them off, check the bearings. These two, this is 7 and 8, they're not in like pristine condition, but they're definitely nowhere near as bad as this. So far this is a one-off. I think that's the only one we're going to find. But like I said, since we're this far, I'm going to check every single one of them. And then when I get that done, I'll show you guys. We're going to clean up the rest of the parts and slap this thing back together. All right, number 3 and 4, they both look half decent. I mean, not perfect, but half decent. And finally, number 1 and 2, they were the hardest to get to up in there, making a shadow in front of the camera. But those ones, I don't want to say any of them passed with flying colors because they didn't, but they were all acceptable. So let's put this thing back together. Just turning the engine over by hand to make sure I feel the oil pump drive turning, which I do. Now that, boys and girls, was first-rate mechanicking. Deserves a thin mint, complete with oil. And they're minty enough, you can't even taste the oil. And as far as the rest of the gold and glitter in the bottom of the pan, well, I don't see any. Looks clean to me. Fingers crossed. Let's go do some burnout. All right, so initial impressions. It is much quieter than it was before. Still got the normal valve train noise, but that's just normal when you have a little bit stiffer valve springs and aftermarket rockers and all that stuff. So what I'm gonna do now, just kind of drive the truck gently. I'm gonna let the oil kind of warm up, let it circulate through. I am gonna change the oil fairly quickly after this because there's probably a fair amount of debris left over from the failure. The filter actually did a very good job of trapping it last time, so now with the brand new filter, you know, it'll clear itself out pretty quick, I believe. And I'm just gonna put some miles on this thing. Like I'm not gonna go nuts. I'm not gonna immediately fill it up with E85 and turn the boost up, probably. But we'll just use it and enjoy it because I just spent a ton of effort and money on this thing. And that's what I want. I just want to drive it. I want to hear that turbo spool up. So 2 pounds of boost can't be that bad for it. Feels good to be driving it again. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we're driving it. right, so the $1 million question is, do we classify this job as a success or otherwise? Now they say that doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of, no, what do they say? Oh, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results is the definition of insanity. I might be crazy. Well, overall the oil looks pretty clean. I mean, it was only in there for 20 minutes, but just wanted to make sure I flush out any last debris. All right, now, just because I'm curious, we're gonna cut open this filter, which is basically brand new. It's been on the truck for 20 minutes. But I figured that's enough time to let the oil run through and collect any garbage or trash that might have been in the rest of the engine. I don't know if you can get this particular one anymore, but I'll put a link down below for an oil filter cutter. It's definitely a tool that everybody should have if you mess around with any sort of performance engines. That does not look promising. I was hoping I would put it back together. And yeah, watch that. I was hoping I'd put it back together, run it for a minute, and it would clean out a little bit of, debris and material, but I feel like with the amount of gold that's in there, maybe that rod is bent after all. Dang it. I feel like. That's not a good sign, is it? All right, guys, I drove the UglyTruck home from work tonight. I put on another oil filter, just changed the oil again, just to make sure, obviously, we had oil in it. And after seeing what I just saw in the oil filter, all that gold debris and stuff, there was like a 10% chance in my mind that maybe that debris and the gold stuff I was seeing was just left over from the first failure, even though I did very thoroughly clean everything as it came apart and went back together. So I was like, yeah, 10%, maybe I'll get lucky. But after driving it home, now there is a 0% chance that this Junkyard 8.1 is gonna do anything else. I mean, the UglyTruck's at the home garage, and this is where it's gonna stay because she's done. On the way home, it started knocking again. Squeeze through here. The oil pressure, it started out good, but it just went down and down and down. It made about 15 at idle when we finally pulled into the garage here. Made lots of noise. It was down on power. The throttle response on this 8.1 has always been awesome, especially after we did the new heads with better compression and the bigger turbo. Like this thing, it was like a light switch. You just breathe on that throttle and it's there. But on my last drive home, it's like 25 miles, just everything slowly started degrading and getting worse and worse. The throttle response went away. It went down on power. We have a dead miss which is probably that one cylinder. Maybe the pistons fail. I don't know yet, but the one thing I do know is she's done. She's cooked. This junkyard bottom end is no good. So yeah, the wheels are turning and I have to come up with a plan because race week is not that far away. So we're not going to be able to fix the UglyTruck today. That's going to be some sort of a rebuild / replacement. Not sure yet what we're going to do, but in the meantime, I got some thinking to do, and I pulled the S10 into the shop, and I got a handful of parts that we've had forever that I just want to install. First, we get these hood louvers. These are from a guy from Maine, actually, which is awesome because I'm from Maine also. It's called Dirigo Motorsports, and these are a hood louver that's designed for the S10 Extreme like racing stripe. They kind of fit right inside it. Obviously, we don't have racing stripes, but hood's the same, so I picked these up because it's going to help keep the underhood temperatures a little bit cooler. I do notice that when we're sitting in traffic, not moving, the coolant temp creeps up a little bit to like 215, sometimes 220. And if I come right back to the shop after and I pop the hood, there's a ton of heat that builds up. So I figured, what the heck, I found these on the Facebook group, and they look cool, and I think they'll function well by getting some of that excessive heat out of the engine bay, which hopefully will help the cooling fans to do their job better. So we'll throw those on real quick. And then the other thing is fairly simple, but actually the one thing that bugs me most about this truck ever since I purchased it, and I literally cannot stand it, is the steering wheel. Now that seems like a simple thing, but like the steering wheel is the one thing that you are constantly touching when you're driving. And this is the older Chevy style. It's really, really worn out, and the diameter is just like so thin. It feels awkward to hold. So I am upgrading to the newer style steering wheel. This would fit, this is like the same wheel that's an UglyTruck. They're comfortable. I think this is the leather wrapped one. It was kind of hard to find. I got it from eBay out of Canada actually, but yeah, we got the wheel, we got the matching airbag to go along with it, and I think it'll be a direct swap. So we'll start with that, then we'll get these painted, then we'll get a big giant hole chopped in the hood and stick them in. So that new airbag connector is a little different from the old one. So while I wait for that, I'm just going to put some edge primer on these louvers. Now the sad part is, even though this is like super cheap hardware store paint, it's probably going to be the nicest part that's painted on the whole body of the truck. All right, we now have the appropriate connector. Battery is not connected, and plug this in. It's a satisfying click. Now, I know this may seem like a fairly simple thing, but I gotta tell you guys, having this newer steering wheel on here, it's perfect. Like, it makes driving the truck that much more enjoyable. I don't even know how to describe it, but it looks better, it looks a little newer, and it feels perfect. So, much needed upgrade. All right, so I got most of the corners marked out. Everything's exactly where I want it. So I'm just gonna kind of do the border with tape so I can make a kind of precise line. But don't want to cover up my marks either. Grade school, I never really did all that well in art class, so See if I can actually follow the straight line. Now I probably should take the hood off, but I don't really have a good body stand here, and it's already kind of bolted to the truck, so we'll just do this. That is pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I need to put more tape on it though, because it scratched my pristine paint job. And if you're wondering about painting this exposed edge, yes, you should. You should paint the exposed edge. You guys should know by now that I don't paint much. Kind of like the look of those exposed pop rivets too. It gives it like almost an industrial look. Cool thing is they actually landed this rivet hole right on the bottom of that hood brace, so it kind of ties everything together. So I think it definitely gives the truck a little bit more of a racy vibe having those vents in the hood. They definitely fit the contour and everything like that. And if I ever do install the the extreme body stripes that go up the hood and over the roof and stuff, these will line up perfectly. And it's kind of cool to see how, like, from the side, they'll let the air out, so it's going to come in through the radiator, and all the hot air is going to go that way. So can't wait to try it out. The question probably will come up about like weather and rain and snow and things like that. So yeah, obviously you have now a lot of opportunity for water and moisture to go in, but I guess on one hand it's like it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal because, you know, people power wash and steam clean their engine bays all the time. A little bit of water is probably not going to hurt anything. Luckily, the air filter goes from like here over, so there's no like direct path for water to get on the air filter. And the truth is, my trucks like this, I don't typically drive in the rain or the snow. So for me personally, there's not going to be a lot of water that gets in there. So I can't wait to drive it and see how much heat comes out of it, because if it keeps the truck cool, that means it's functioning as well as looking cool. So anyway, that's the video for the day, guys. Thank you for watching. I think I have an idea for the UglyTruck. I think I have a plan how we're gonna rescue it and get to race week and all that good stuff, but I'm not sure yet, and you'll have to wait till next time to find out. So thank you guys for watching. Come back soon.